Bonus. Made up movies, bonus features. Oh yeah. Bonus. Bonus. Made up movies, bonus features. Oh yeah. Bonus. Bonus. Made up movies, bonus features. Oh yeah. Bonus. Bonus. Made up movies, bonus features. Oh yeah.
Hello and welcome to Made Up Movies Bonus Features.
Bonus.
Bonus. We're here in the alternate dimension, and Matt and I discovered something pretty interesting, I would say, that maybe you didn't. So, you know how in your dimension, or I guess our normal dimension, when you go
your
to
human world,
your human dimension, you go to a drugstore, and it's like a CVS and a Walgreens, and it's like, oh, everything costs a little too much except the toilet paper. Well, here at this Mammoth Video drugstore, they just have actual drugs for sale. Just actual drugs.
Yeah, it's like bags full of weed, which I guess isn't that crazy. But
That's
they
not
go
crazy,
all the way
but-
up to like heroin.
There's heroin.
It's like all that blue crystal from Breaking Bad is just in a big vat.
Yeah, they just have a whole like Walter White is like a mascot for this.
Yeah, there's a
this
cartoon
meth.
caricature of him here. And then
It's
there's
crazy.
one of Jesse's saying, "Try some, bitch." It's
It's
they
like-
encourage free
It's
samples.
like
I don't know.
super progressive, but also a little worrying. But also, you look at all this stuff. Look at us. Look, it's like a candy store. It's a candy store for adults, and well, we should get some. I think some.
I mean, I don't know if we want to try it right before we record, but I think
No. But just a little ketamine, take a little
a little
scoop of this.
ketamine.
A little
Wait, what does
scoop
that
of ketamine.
do? Is that a hallucinogen?
It's a cat tranquilizer, but taken in high doses, it is just it's fun. It's fun. It's like you know what a K-hole is? You'll find out.
No, not really. I
Okay,
don't.
a K-hole is when you take so much ketamine you can't move. You can't move, and you just.
I
sit
don't
there.
think. Well, I mean,
That's fine.
we don't need to move that much to do a podcast, but I still want you to be cogent.
You
or
go. You
whatever.
can't. No, you can't talk. You can't do it. Your muscles don't do it. Anyway, but we can take a
Do they
little.
have
bit,
any?
take some
Do they have any
Molly.
DMT? I mean,
They have,
'cause
well, yeah, DMT. Yeah, we can do some DMT. A little bit of DMT.
I don't know much about it, but I did meet with the guy who directed Waiting once.
Oh, yeah.
He's like the writer-director of Waiting. And he kept talking to me about some documentary about DMT. Like, he wanted me to pitch him something on that. And I was just like, okay. Continue
the
to
guy
describe
from
this
Waiting really
documentary.
likes DMT. That's good.
He really likes the documentary about DMT and talking about how it can take you to other worlds or something. But
I
was
mean,
I
I
guess.
only did it once, but supposedly you can break through and like see machine elves and stuff. Which is,
yeah, I remember you talking
Yeah.
to me in high school about machine elves, and that
Yeah.
always made me curious. It sounded very D&D.
It's basically like it's like being thrust into the craziest trip of all time, but also. You also might take you to different. We'll get a little bit. We'll get a little bit. We'll get a little scoop of this, scoop of this.
You're kind of just putting it all into a grab bag right
Yeah,
there.
well,
I don't know how
it's-
you keep track of this stuff.
Doesn't matter. It's all fun.
It's all good. It's all
Oh,
natural.
we'll get a
It's
little
healthy for the
cocaine.
body.
Just a little cocaine. Little cocaine.
Okay, well, you're just sprinkling that on as if it's powdered sugar, but sure.
Cocaine. I've never done heroin. Let's should we?
Yeah, I don't
we'll
think
get a
that's
little-
good.
We'll get a
That's
little.
a
We'll get a
celebrity
little.
killer.
Let's
I
do
don't-
the
I don't
smallest,
think
the
that's-
tiniest,
I'm-
just to bring us down if we get a little too high. And,
I mean, heroin must be really good because in every portrayal in anything ever, it's the worst thing that's ever
Yeah,
happened to the people
no,
who
no,
can't
it's
stop
not-
doing it.
there's
In
no
Train
good
Spotting,
story. There's
it
no
seems
good story.
horrible. I mean, what's his face? The writer from Parks and Rec died because of it. What's
Right.
his Philip Seymour Hoffman? I mean, if
But I
if
mean,
you've
what
got, like,
are the
these
chances it's
smart
going to happen?
people-
What are the chances it's going to be bad for us too? You know, it's like those people had no control. We're just doing what we're just trying to. We're just in the other dimension. We're doing as they do in Rome, so to speak.
I spent a lot of yesterday arguing with anti-vaxxers on Twitter. I made the mistake of engaging, and
God.
and trying to talk them out of their circular logic is like trying to talk you out of doing these.
Okay,
drugs.
so do you want HGH? Should we? We're here. Do you want HGH? We get really
That'll
tough,
make me
really
strong, right?
Yeah, it'll
That'll
make you really
me
strong. But maybe not when we combine.
Maybe Smash Trivia will find me attractive if I do enough of human growth hormone.
Where do we pay for this? Do we pay for this?
You don't have to.
It says first one's free. First one's free. Okay, great.
First bag's free?
First
That's
bag's
crazy.
I love this place. I know we talk about how much I love this dimension in Mammoth Video, but I love this place.
I think it's supposed to, like, in this dimension, they have, like, built-in credit chips that are, like, around your wrist, but I don't think we have
it's like
those.
it's like the Disney World bands, except we don't have them.
Yeah,
We're
they're
off
like
the grid,
magic
baby.
bands, except they work and they don't upcharge you for exhaling.
They didn't expect you to be off the grid. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
We should probably watch a movie at some point. Did you find anything? I mean, they've got DVDs all over the different stores in this dimension.
I found something. I think it'll calm us down while we do all these drugs.
I worry about you picking a DVD.
Nah, it's fine. It's a very normal.
Drugstore.
It's a classic comedy. It's a comedy. Maybe, I don't know. Let's look. Okay, here.
All right, okay, the cover is giving me epilepsy. Just looking at it.
I don't know. It's like a strobe light cover. It's pretty cool. So
what the hell is with this? Yeah, it's like one of those old foil cards where if you like move the image, it'll like hologram a little bit. What the fuck is this? I can't even. The font is so Grateful Dead. I can't even read the text.
Well, I'm used to reading that kind of thing. Here, let me see. It says Professor Potatoes. Wondrous Wandering Wondinarium ... Potato. Potato? What did I say?
I don't know. Is that a mistake or intentional? I don't know.
I don't know.
Professor Potato's Wondrous
Wandering Wondinarium ...
Wondernarium?
Wondernarium.
Like Howl's Moving Castle?
Wondernarium. Wandering Wondernarium. Learn to read stoner language, dude. Come on.
This is like, I only speak Common and Elvish. You know this about
We should get some drug rugs before we leave, too. That'd be cool.
Rugs? Is that like a toupee I can wear?
Nah, it's like those hemp shirts, those pullovers that all drug dealers wear. It's cool.
Hemp shirts?
Yeah.
Wow. I don't understand. I'm picturing a poncho in my head.
It's basically a poncho. It's basically a poncho made out of, like, it's like a knit hat with a lot of pockets, with a big pocket to hide their drugs in.
Look, I like it. It's got pockets.
It's got one big pocket for all your drugs. All right.
Oh, here's one that's just a kangaroo fursuit. I can wear this.
Yeah, you can wear that.
It's comfortable. Yeah, I'll just put this on now. I'm sure it's free like everything else.
It probably is. I mean, they're just going to scan your chip that
it's
doesn't
a little
exist.
Scratchy, but I like the pouch. It's like one of those hoodie pouches where you can put your arms in from both sides and sort of hug yourself.
Yeah, or you can hold all the drugs that we just bought.
Oh, and look, there's a little baby kangaroo inside.
Is that a real kangaroo?
This is just a rat. This is just a rat.
Oh man, I haven't seen a rat since we were in that bunker that one time.
I know, right? But this one's nice. It's not mean, so I'm gonna keep it in here, and it's my friend.
All right, man, cool. Let's watch. Let's find a place to watch. Wait, Professor Potatoes, Wondrous Wandering Wondernarium ... from Hell. I think this is a horror movie. Yeah, From Hell. I didn't see
Johnny
that part.
Depp. Cool.
No. ... 4 dots.
Wait. It's 4 dots. That reminds me of I Am Here ... now. This isn't a Neil Breen film.
It doesn't say Neil Breen. Here, the back says, adventurous orphan twins Wallace and Wendy get more than they bargained for when they meet the mysterious Professor Potato and his wondrous wandering Wondernarium. So...
Okay, that sounds fanciful.
Sounds fun. But it's from hell, so I don't know. It's
from hell, yeah. I don't know if that sounds fanciful.
That sounds scary.
All right, let's walk over here and
that rat is I can hear it biting you. By the way, I know. I mean,
it's just a hemp. It's not.
Oh, it's just chewing on your. Okay,
it's just chewing. It's basically it wants as many holes so it can peek out. I can feel it rustling.
That's
but
fair.
That's
fair.
It's actually curling its tail around my hand right now. It's pretty nice. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. All right, I'm just gonna close the door here.
I'm gonna do a little of these bag of drugs, right? Yeah. Oh wait, we'll watch the movie first, then I'll do drugs. Wait,
you should. I mean, I've been noticing you just sort of popping them like in the corner of your mouth, like sunflower
it's just
seeds.
I'm just really excited. It's just I've never had this. I don't feel any. There's no cops around. If there are, they're not watching me.
Yeah, there's no cops in this dimension. They actually defunded the police, and everyone's way happier.
I mean, there was a rehab place right next to the drugstore, so it's like. They don't shame people here.
Well, because they have those rehab lasers that just fix you immediately.
They just fix you. It's no longer addicted to drugs.
I mean, they're searingly painful, so there's some comeuppance, but it's not.
But who cares? Well, you can do all the drugs you want, then you're just not addicted anymore.
Yeah, they can start again and get that fresh high. I guess it's an idyllic dimension. It's an idyllic dimension. Really but yeah, let's jam this cube into the helmet. Okay.
Did you take some HGH when I was so strong these days?
I might have microdosed a little bit.
Just microdosing HGH.
Yeah, let's put on these helmets and flick. Okay. I really prefer these helmets in store. I'm glad we started using these because gross! Oh my god!
Oh my god! Jesus
Why
Christ!
did this take this turn? Why? Is this the from hell part?
Yeah, this is from hell. Oh god.
Okay, that's a good amount of that.
Whoa,
that was most of that movie.
That's like two or three different movies. Wow.
Why? You know what? You're not allowed to pick your drug movies no more.
It's not my fault. Studio Ghibli doesn't seems to have some sort of weird evil Hellraiser vibe in this dimension. I didn't know that. How was I supposed to know?
It was another one of these hybrid animated and live action movies that it used a disturbing mix of animation styles where some of it was 2D, some of it was 3D, some of it was stop motion claymation.
So many
it was just
styles.
As Mystery Science Theater would say, it was just pure nightmare fuel. It was like, it starts off as like a fun Terry Gilliam adventure, but then it becomes a terrifying Terry Gilliam adventure by the end of it. That guy really runs the gamut.
By the end, you're like, I wish I didn't watch this. Classic Terry Gilliam.
I wish I didn't watch this. So, wait, what were our Chillin's names? Our Chillin's names?
Wendy and Wallace.
Wallace.
They're the twins and the orphans at the beginning that run away from the orphanage.
So they escape from this orphanage that's run by this mean German lady who's she reminded actually me of the Butterscotch Boys a little bit, even though it's a different, movie. She sort of seemed like unstuck in time from that movie. She had like those, what do you call it? Those like Princess Leia, like curler buns on the side of her head.
Yeah, except she doesn't look a thing like Princess Leia.
She looked very huge
more like
and
Jabba
masculine.
the Leia, you know what I'm saying?
Wow!
I'm just saying
that, all plus-sized women from Kolar. I'll do you in the backyard right now.
That's not what I said. That is not what I said at all.
That's the difference in our progressiveness. Kolar doesn't see you as a sex object.
I was talking about how she kept throwing people in that Rancor pit for they were misbehaved.
Yeah, but what was the deal with that Rancor pit? Because there was like a cage in the basement where it was like at first you just hear something, nom 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 nom, burp, and then like bones and guts would come out of it.
I love that bit. Yeah, I mean, that's where the bad show. Why do you think orphans are orphans? That's what you got to feed them to things. That's how they.
That's not how orphanizing works.
That's how orphanizing works. You think they got enough room in an orphanarium? That's how they make room for the new orphans.
Okay, I wasn't going to bring this up, but because you triggered me by saying orphanarium, I've been playing a lot of games on Steam Deck, and I played the PS2. I downloaded the PS2 Futurama game. I don't know if you ever played this.
No.
And
is it bad?
It
sounds like it's bad.
It's like... It's weird. I highly recommend you. I'll get into it more later, because it's fully voiced by the main three.
Well, that's awesome.
So, yeah, and it's got, like, jokes... and it's written and timed like a real episode, but it's like it almost feels like it's like a real B team effort, and no one was doing punch up on it.
Yeah, of course.
It's like
a video game. It's like nobody wants to do that extra work.
But even like the Simpsons game was like, it felt like they tried a little bit of, it felt like they had a couple writers on it. And this one, it feels like one guy was just tossing in his first draft and nobody was looking at it. Cause it's just like the setup to the game doesn't make sense even by Futurama standards. And it's just so lazy. And like it's like 4 dead jokes in a row. Just like nothing. You know how like Futurama ones are sometimes like, okay. And like, it's just like 4 or 5 of those in a row to open the game. I'm like, you could have at least started your opening cutscene on a strong suit. But I will say, I do get like a weird perverse glee out of just being Fry in the Planet Express.
Is it, like, yeah, are you like, is it like, what is it?
It's like a third person and like, person, I think you play as each of the characters, but like the opening tutorial section is just you inside Planet Express walking around the ship area. Well, and it's fun. Like, it's perfectly rendered in 3D and it's upscaled on the Steam Deck. So it's like, oh, even as just like a virtual walk around to this, it's really cool. Yeah. But like the gameplay is just so, it's just like, it feels like it's not a good game, but like as a simulator of living inside Futurama, it's, you know, it's kind of interesting.
Okay, all right.
So that's that. So that was the Butterscotch Boys. So thank you for
it's Professor Potatoes. Wondrous.
Oh right, the Rancor pits.
The Rancor pit. That's where they throw all the orphans that misbehave.
So when our heroes, Wallace and Wendy, finally look inside that pit to get a glimpse of what this thing is, they see it's like a big, sort of like Leela, a big one-eyed monster. Yeah. And it's got it almost looks like a potato in itself, or like like an untopped muffin. With just like a craggy mouth and a big eye, and it's like
just covered in blood and flesh. It's gross. It was gross. It was Cronenberg-y. It was a little Cronenberg-y.
I like that Wendy's pigtails shot up in the air and that Wallace's hat flew off in that moment.
It's just
that
whimsical.
Was fun.
That's the whimsy. Fun. Those are the whimsical moments.
Yeah, it starts kind of like a weird Matilda-esque movie.
Yeah.
But it gets really, really off the rails gory later on. So yeah, they break out, they basically, they pull a prank on this like Broomhilda lady who runs the thing, and she's got these buns, and they end up tricking a baker into like eating the buns on her hair. It's
I was gonna say the prank sort of is very gruesome. It's a gruesome prank. Like
the implication is that he's just this big fat guy who's going to eat her head at some point.
He starts with the buns, and then like they cut away, and they hear this like gross cutting sound of probably not hair anymore. Probably.
And then we cut back to him later in the movie when someone screams really loud, and we do a bunch of cuts to a bunch of characters reacting as if the scream was so loud everyone in the universe heard it. And he's just like picking his teeth with like a skeletal hand.
I think at that moment. I think it's implied that he ate her and enjoyed it a lot, because it's.
I don't care for these movies where people eat other people, as you know.
Then you probably did not like this movie at all, because
that happens every 5 minutes.
That happens a lot.
It happens nonstop.
It literally.
Although I did like on their way to when they get to Howl's Moving Parnassium or whatever the fuck this thing is.
It's like they animated all the scenery, which is like all the sweeping landscapes always animated because they didn't want to go outside.
They're beautiful. There's aspects of this movie that are beautiful. It's almost like 3 competing it's almost like you were hopped up on human growth hormone and
you did all the drugs at once. They did all the drugs at once.
They did all the drugs at once, and then they hired 3 animators on the same night by mistake. And they're like, whoever gets here first gets the job, but they all showed up at the same time.
What do we do now?
And they're like,
we'll make it a competition.
No. Well, you can all try. Whoever animates the scene first gets their animation in the movie. It's a great way to get professionals to rip their hair out and hate each other. But yeah, it felt like that. It felt like a lot of conflicting styles with like the stop motion guy wanting to do some really gruesome, weird stuff, and this traditional Studio Ghibli guy making these like beautiful forests and magical effects. Yeah, it was really weird. And kind of haunting. I don't think I'll be able to get some of the like the watercolor visual backgrounds out of my head, and like that giant fucking stop motion skeleton that reminded me of Jason and the Argonauts.
Oh,
like
that was cool. That was cool.
He started dancing and stuff while also trying to stomp on the kids. That was fucked up.
It was like he sang a song. He sang that stamping skeleton song. I'm gonna stamp you.
Spooky, scary skeletons. I'm gonna stamp your ass.
Step. Yeah, that was fun.
Gonna take you down to Stampin' Town. Dun, dun, dun. And he's like squashing deer and boar. And your guts are exploding so everywhere. It's like why is this so broad and also so
from
disgusting?
hell? That's the part you.
It's from hell. Who is this for? Is this just for Kolar on drugs? Who made this movie?
Maybe it were. Maybe it is.
You liked this movie, admit it.
I did. I really liked it a lot, and it might be the combination of cocktails I'm on right now. But it's also like I've taken so much that it's like I'm like Mr. Burns, where he does all the diseases. Like I just feel normal.
Yeah, I mean, you were doing drugs before we came to this dimension this morning.
I know, but I just like at this point, it's just like I've reached this like moment of clarity where I just feel like I'm so.
You achieved what most people when they realize they need to go into rehab.
I've reached rock bottom and I feel fucking fantastic.
No, you reached the mountaintop. You're on top of the mountain of drugs. You're at the apex right there. You're an apex legend of drugs.
This is
great. You achieved what the director of Waiting would describe as your moment of zen.
Enlightenment. Well, then I can just go to the laser place and get all these drugs removed or whatever.
No, but you don't need to, because now the drugs have only made you more powerful. You'll become
that's true. I do feel like I could fly. Like I would jump off of whatever you told me to jump off of right now if you asked me to.
And you'd probably live.
I'd be fine.
You've reached like the perfect, like to quote Futurama again. I mean, it's like when Fry drinks those 100 cups of coffee and he's moving at 100 miles an hour and no one else can see him. It's like that. I feel like if you jumped off a building, you'd just do a superhero landing and like inadvertently inadvertently crack open like a fracture in the earth, but instead of like lava or oil or something, like chocolate would come out, and you'd be like, yes! Like your drug powers are creating reality. Anyway, we should get back to the movie. So yeah, the kids are like on their way to this magic.
Well, they heard about this guy named Professor Potato, who takes in orphan kids.
Is it potato or potato?
I don't know. Because it says I think it's potato, but I keep saying potato. Now I'm stuck with it.
Well, it's also like one of those things like in Tammy and the T-Rex where the DVD says one thing and then the titles in the movie say another thing.
Yeah, potato. Wendy kept saying potato, Professor Potato. Yeah.
And like on the DVD on the front it says potato, and then on the side where you can actually read the text it says potato.
Yeah.
And then in the movie, there's like some weird like Irish Gaelic inflection over it. And there's an extra Y. I don't understand.
He looks like a potato, so maybe it's, so.
He looks like a Mr. Peanut of potatoes.
Yeah. They hear about this guy who takes in orphan kids and supposedly gives them a great home. And I guess it's just a rumor. Yeah,
there's like that traveling salesman dude who's like, they buy like, I don't know what from it. It's like some sort of like gruel or something like from him, like a bowl.
I think he was the gruel man and he sells gruel.
Gruel man here.
Because all they can afford is gruel because they're poor shitty orphans.
Right. And he trades them the bugs they've collected, which he gobbles up hungrily for the gruel.
So gross.
He looks like a weird like Peter Lorre character.
Just eat your gruel. Why are you eating bugs?
It's terrible. He doesn't want to eat that. It's made of bugs.
It's worse than bugs. They're just trading bugs for mashed up bugs.
That's like the circular logic of the anti-vaxxer people. It's like I asked this one dude. He's like, the vaccine has killed thousands of kids. They're killing doctors. I'm like, prove it. Send me one piece of evidence that corroborates this. And he sends me one video that's like immediately disproven by the content of the video. It's like, we don't know if the vaccine's related. And the other one is like from an unsourced website. And I'm like, how do you know this isn't staged? And he's like,
That's
I know it's not staged because the virus was staged.
Oh,
and I'm like,
you shouldn't argue with those people. You're just hurting your brain.
Yeah, but that was the smartest of the people I was arguing
Jesus
with.
Christ.
The one guy was like, how did I know Biden was lying just by sitting in my bedroom?
Because you decided to.
Yeah,
that's what you wanted to
fucking
think.
guessed. You guessed on like 300 things, and 5 of them were right, and so you decided that they were all right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, it's so frustrating.
Well,
but anyway,
you talk to those people because they're the stupidest people in the world, and they're going to kill everybody.
Let's talk about the Wondrous Wandering Wondernarium itself. It did have sort of like a Howl's Moving Castle vibe in that it was sort of, it also sort of reminded me of those Elden Ring turtle things. Those big, those big
it
chapels.
Had legs. It had legs, yeah.
Yeah, it had legs that walk around, but they were more like spidery,
hundreds of spidery centipede legs, which I didn't
necessarily
like. I don't know how those kids saw it and like, oh, it's beautiful. It's like, that looks terrifying.
Yeah, they looked like they were made of metal too, but glided like air. So it was like, it has all these, it's like if they had touched the legs, they just would have gotten sliced up real fast.
Yeah, super sharp, spindly.
It seems like Professor Potato's Wondrous Wandering Wondernarium from hell really did cause just nothing but devastation in its wake. Like if we had panned behind it to see like all the forests it climbed through, instead of like gracefully climbing over them, it just would have been like a like fallow land and like
it would have
salted
been like
earth.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if like you were a farmer, it would have tilled the soil nicely, but that's about it.
Perhaps, but maybe all those animal corpses it leaves in its wake would be great fertilizer or something. Except if you were a farmer who lived there, you would have been shredded into oblivion.
Oh, right. If you lived there, you would no
webs.
longer live there because you'd be dead.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, if you were a dairy farmer, you'd have a lot of hamburger, but that's about the best you could
Thank you, Professor Potato, for killing my animals for me.
And then just like a blade shoots out of the thing and chops his head off for no reason. I was thanking you! I like you!
Now.
You won't anymore! Good day!
Yeah, what was that voice? What was that voice, Professor Potato?
He sounded like me doing a bad D&D character I always do.
It was wondrous.
I'm Professor Potato. Welcome, children.
That was when I thought was like, is this originally in Japanese? But it wasn't. It's an English movie, so I was like,
they just did a bad job with his voice matching on the I don't know, like, because in some scenes it seems like Professor Potato was a puppet of sorts, but like not a high tech puppet in a weird way. It was like I couldn't tell if they were trying to make it like a Wizard of Oz thing, where we're supposed to imagine that the real Professor Potato or whoever's running him is within the costume, or it's a marionette.
No, I think it was just the 3 animators competing that made it so strange.
But it seemed practical in some shots. No,
yeah. His head got bigger in some shots. He was like the One Ring. He kept changing like size and shit.
When it would be like the different animation styles. When he was like stop motion, he could like detach his limbs and like crawl around like a worm. And so like weird. when he would go into the Ghibli 2D style, he became very anime for some reason. Like they outsourced it to Korean animators, and like he would like leap through the air and like Sailor Moon effects would happen. It was really weird.
Professor Potato, he does want to save kids, but not like save them in the sense of Jim Jones saving.
He wants to save kids by destroying everything in the world that is dangerous to kids, which he considers to be everything in the world. He's like Ethan Hawke in Moon Knight. He's just like I sense bad in everything, therefore everything needs to go, including
the kids themselves, which I think is
right. He has like a Moon Knight effect on it, or just perspective on it, where he's like, they have to follow, like, he's got all these orphans around this like dinner table, and they have to follow rigid manners, but the manners are not taught by him. They're only taught by who dies or is like punished first.
Right.
So like
very, very strange.
So you have to learn by watching other kids get like exploded into potato pieces.
That wasn't quite right.
75% correct, which is still a fail in my book.
Devour him!
Yeah, then a bunch of wild CGI dogs would just run it. They looked like the Hulk dogs. They literally looked like reused Hulk dogs from the, I was about to say Jim Jarmusch Hulk. That's not right.
From the Jim Jarmusch. From the Jim Jarmusch.
Actually, that's a really funny
Mumblecore.
idea. We should
Hulk
do the
movie.
Jim Jarmusch Hulk for Smash Trivia. We should watch that one where Hulk is just like sitting around reading the whole time.
Just having a conversation with She-Hulk. That's
it's
that's funny-ish dialogue.
It's the movie about how he became Professor Hulk and is just having an internal dialogue with his two selves where he's just like he's just at a diner getting coffee
they don't
the
give me a
entire
big budget.
time.
I'm Jim Jarmusch. I don't have a big budget.
That's the weird thing. They gave him a regular Marvel budget, but he just scripted it in his traditional way where he's just like, this is how I make movies, okay?
I'm not going to change who I am just because you give me $100 billion.
This movie's gonna come out. Yeah, it's gonna make $12 million at the box office, but it's still gonna be considered a success because I underspent so hard on the budget.
He gave all the money back.
Yeah, he gave all the money back. He's too reliable. I'm just too consistent a filmmaker.
That's why everybody wants to work with him. That's why he's so beloved.
That's why Bill Murray loves him so much, especially because he always looks the other way in his treatment of actresses on set. And so
I love this Jim Jarmusch. He doesn't care what I say to people.
Jim Jarmusch is asleep in a lawn chair, it's like, should we wake him? No, he's sleepy. Let's just move to the next setup.
His own dialogue put him to sleep.
I wrote it too soothing again. Oh no. And meanwhile, Bill Murray is like beating the crap out of Lucy Liu in another. Why did I agree to this movie again? Bill Murray is Bill Murray
he's a comic hero.
As soon as cameras turn off, Bill Murray just becomes this like raving, inconsolable cat lady like character who's just like yelling and screaming racial epithets and beating the crap out of people. Why did we ever like him? And then it cuts to some guy.
We thought Chevy Chase was so bad that we liked him.
Yeah, it's like because Chevy Chase was more upfront about it. We picked him instead. And then some guy, like a grip on set, is like, "Wow, Bill Murray. I'm gonna tell everyone the story of." And he said, and then after he finishes his rant, Bill Murray goes up to the grip and is like, "No one will ever believe you," and walks away.
I was gonna believe you. Everybody loves me. I was Garfield the cat.
It was of all the movies you could have picked.
I was Garfield the cat. Remember?
Yeah, he's no Garfield starring Chris Pratt coming soon.
If you try to tell this story, it's just gonna get lost in translation.
Hold for laugh.
Hold for laughs.
2, 3, and
that should be enough laugh. They're probably still
should
laughing.
be. Could probably just hold that laugh for the rest of the episode. And
the laughs.
Patreon done. Great one. Another great one.
There was also that scene where, speaking of laughs, where Professor Potato like tickled people and he said, "Hold the laughs," and if you laughed, they would also get the dogs to devour you. Like, and he was tickling them. It was weird.
Okay, that's what. Well, yeah, he also had like those Dr. Seussian hands on machines that were Cat in the Hat style, and they would tickle the children. And if they laugh, he's teaching them how to be composed in all situations.
In all situations, you must be composed, children. That's what he's trying to teach them.
And so Wallace and Wendy, they go into the kitchen and they've been stealing food because the stuff that he's serving them is too like.
Well, I think it's dogs.
Boring.
It's like dog meat, but it's refined dog meat.
Yeah, why is everything made of dog? I think it's because he's like, we vegetables have been getting too bad a rap lately. Don't devour us when you have so much horrible meat to eat.
He's a reverse vegetarian because
He only eats meat because he is a vegetable.
Because he is a vegetable. Like regular vegetables do they only eat.
It almost makes a disturbing amount of sense in a weird revenge fantasy.
Kind of makes sense.
Maybe that's why he's constantly ripping the shit. Although the trees are forested, I think he's just fucked up.
If he was a D&D character, he'd be chaotic evil, I think.
Yes, exactly. And he will be in our next setting. I promise you. I'm going to write him in right now.
Professor Potato.
I might do that now. I might just do just for you a like one-off that's only references to like our weirdest movies. You have to ride a fast NATO into his castle to like destroy him.
I don't know if I have the dexterity to ride a fast NATO. Can you roll a dexterity check for me?
Sure, I could. Okay, I don't have my dice with me, so let's just say you got a nat 1 and move on.
Fuck. All right,
so
let's move on. So we can't do this bit anymore.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the dice are way over here, Kolar. I'd have to open the sack.
Well, if the bit's that far away, I don't want to do it.
I mean, it's in our recording studio. It's in our recording studio, which is a different room than the one we are in currently.
Yeah.
Because we are currently at Mammoth
across from each
Video.
other, looking at each other in the eye. Smiling.
Yes, correct. The end. Okay, so what I was trying to say about Jim Jarmusch's The Hulk is that they looked like the dogs in this movie, the ones that he is cloning in his basement to create meat and friends and attack dogs, they looked like the Hulk dogs from that first Hulk movie, the Ang Lee Hulk.
Yeah, Ang
Lee, another made-up movie superstar.
Love him. So good.
Such a great filmmaker. I forget which one of these he made, but he's great. He's great.
Made most of them.
He made Discourteous Machinations. That's right.
And a bunch of other ones.
So yeah, this was a weird movie, and he had those hands, and like, I wanted to say that the kids didn't want to eat the dog meat because they like dogs, or at least used to, or until they had this traumatic experience. So they sneak into the kitchen where Professor Potato has like a sort of like the drug room, almost like a storeroom full of candy.
Yeah, cakes and candies, and
which is apparently what he eats. Nothing but sweets all the
time.
That
and meats. It's very strange
because he's a potato. He wants nothing but candy to keep him plump and round.
Keeps me nice and clumpy.
And so they eat some. It's like a very Wonka-esque thing. They eat some like toffee it's like super sticky toffee, and they're eating it, but it gums their mouths shut. Yeah. And so they can't open their mouths, and so when the things are tickling them, they can't laugh. And so they survive that round solely because they did this thing that inadvertently helped.
He was so proud of them too. He's like, my little children, not laughing at all as I tickle you.
It's like, you will become my special children orphan thing.
That's never a good thing. That's never a good thing to be.
No, yeah. Instead of having like time to themselves in their playroom, which is just basically a weird workshop full of insane devices and like creepy dolls, like he takes them into his like the top of his tower where he lives, which is like it looks like, I don't know, sort of a throne room with a bed inside, like I guess the king's chambers.
Like a weird trash strewn around, but like,
yeah, it's like he puts rules on the kids that he would never put on himself.
A bit of a hypocrite.
Like, yeah, he's a big hypocrite. He's like, these are rules for human children. I'm already an adult potato. I don't need to learn any rules.
It's true though.
I mean, real adults would never be that sort of hypocritical to children.
I didn't like how besides Wendy and Wallace, they didn't like, nobody really, like, all the other children were like, it's fine, Professor Potato has his ways, but he's going to help us. He's going to help us. Like, they all thought he was going to help them.
I mean, it's hard because, like, to a certain extent, it seems like at no point in this movie did they show a place where kids would want to live. That is true. Better.
Yeah, I guess.
Do you know what I mean? It's not like they cut to Disneyland and all the kids are having fun.
Yeah, they went from orphanage to fucking the street where they eat bug roll So
They could live in the forest and be eaten by giant actual millipedes or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, who knows what's in there? In this fucked up universe.
Yeah, right.
Or you could meet a guy who's
This
only
might
abusive to
be-
you half the time
This
instead
might
of
be
100%.
the safest place, actually. In the whole
Yeah, it technically is. You just
Yeah.
have to, like, follow his insane rules. And
that
he's
he
just-
makes up on the spot sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, that he changes to suit him and he like makes them sleep at the foot of his bed like dogs.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that Professor Potato, I want this to be clear, is I'm sure you've been picturing him correctly, but he is not the size of a potato. He is a gigantic 8-foot tall anthropomorphized Mr. Peanut style potato. So
Yeah.
he's got like a hat and a monocle.
He's
but
weirdly lanky too, which is creepy.
He's very imposing.
All of his arms are like his limbs are lanky, is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. He's got these like long Mickey Mouse black arms and like white gloves on the ends of them and like big boots and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he's like, the body is just a potato. He also has eyes all over his body because he's a potato, which selectively
And
open.
he says he's a professor, but I don't know like what his degree's in. I guess engineering.
I think he decided he was a professor after he built this insane thing. He's like,
I'm
well,
a
I'm
professor.
smart.
You can't say I'm not.
It's like he read like the first line of a book that says, professors are smart men who know things. He's like, I'm a professor!
And he just kept screaming for hours.
He's like lemon grab. He just keeps on
Yeah,
screaming.
he is lemon grab.
So yeah, he's not to be trusted. But he's lovable in his way.
He's lovable in his ways. And also, I guess if you're an orphan in this universe, you don't have better options. So
Yeah, you don't have that many options. I mean, yeah. Better to die with the story of being eaten by the rabid dogs of a big potato professor.
of a maniacal professor.
Isn't that what it says in the Bible?
Yeah. That's what in
In the
Bible
Garden
says.
of Eden, it says something similar to that. But yeah. I mean, he's a cool guy, and I love him. But his treatment of children.
Except he eats a lot of kids. He eats kids too. He
He eats a lot. There is a scene. I mean, it gets really gruesome. And once he realizes that Wallace and Wendy are trying to kill him, because like they come up with a plan. They decide that. It's like Wallace wants to stay. Wallace is sort of convinced by the other kids that's like, if we just behave, then we can do it. And Wendy's like, are you fucking kidding? Like, this is,
what's the end goal? Eventually he's going to kill us. Yeah. Like, even if we win, he's going to kill us.
Yeah. He's just like, he just constantly accrues. Like, that's when she gets, cause like the day after he collects them, he's got like a vacuum chute that just sees random kids and sucks them up. And it like goes into the butt of his giant castle. And like, he's like, oops, got some adults in the mix. And then it just shoots out guts and bones out of like an exhaust and onto the ground.
And some of the kids aren't orphans. Some of the kids are like, I wish I could go back to my family. And he's like, well,
your family is dead.
Your family died. I killed them.
I killed them because I saved you. And
To
I saved
save
you
you.
because I killed them.
Think about it.
The vaccines are fake because they're vaccines. What part of this don't you understand?
He actually gives the kids vaccines, but yeah, a lot of them actually do kill them. So
but they are fake vaccines in this movie, though.
In this movie, they are fake.
He says he says the vaccines will protect them from pugglepox, and that's something that they use against him later because his weakness is that he's constantly tormented by creatures that only he can see called puggles.
Yeah.
That aren't like our puggles, which are adorable pugs and poodles. They're apparently some sort of pink flying dogs or something that
they devour his consciousness. Like they eat at his consciousness, so you can't see it, but like you could notice with like his eyes start to explode at one point. Like, oh, okay, that's
because they. I mean, that's like the big finale of the movie is like once they realize that there's like a special candy in his supply that can make him hallucinate, much like the candies that Kolar is compulsively munching on right now.
What? They're good.
Like they basically trick him
You're an
into
addict.
having a
You have a problem.
Heffalumps and Woozles style or like Dumbo drunk elephant sequence. And so Yeah, the thrust of it is basically that Wendy has to convince Wallace that that they have to kill him and take over his castle. It's the only way they can have a better life for themselves, and they can help the other kids.
Yeah.
And so eventually when they scoop up all these other kids and suddenly they're no longer the favorites anymore because he's like, oh, I like this one better, much prettier.
Yeah. Today
He's
I've
like-
changed my mind.
Right. And they realize this is what happens to all the kids. They go through a cycle of like being the new favorites and to being like the old hats. Like, those kids are boring. I'm done with them.
Put on your old hats. And then he makes it put on old hats. And it's fucking...
Sleep in this mattress in my recording studio. Oh, no, wait. That's Finding or Leaving Neverland. The Michael Jackson documentary.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think he molested these kids. I think he just...
No, I don't think he has genitals, but
I don't think he has
also
genitals.
don't
I think he's a potato.
I don't think... I think what had happened is that no one told him that molesting was a thing. He never read a book about it.
Thank God.
And thank God
Jesus.
for that. Thank God for that.
Jesus Christ.
Because there were a lot of books about killing and how to cook dog, clearly, but not
That
a
was
lot
mostly
of...
what his library was how to cook dogs for dummies. It's not hard. You just cook it like any other meat, except it's a little tougher, so you got to cook it longer.
So I think we can agree that even though he is a jovial and hilarious villain, he needed to die. He needed to die.
He deserved to die. He needed to get his comeuppance and be a baked potato, basically.
And so Wendy decides that she's going to pretend to be like the best little orphan there was and like follow all his rules expertly so she can be his new chef.
Yeah.
And so she uses that as a way to sneak this like hallucinogenic candy into his dog stew. Or his candy stew. I guess he eats the dog meat too.
Well, he hallucinates and they scare him into the giant oven, which I thought was cool because it's like,
oh yeah, and then they make him
like
into a baked potato. Yeah, that was pretty good.
It's just Hansel and Gretel, but I liked it because it's...
Oh yeah, that was. I didn't really. Yeah, it does. I mean, the whole thing has Hansel and Gretel vibes with him standing.
Except
in
at the
witch.
end, they eat. Like, the kids can realize they can eat this potato and probably survive on it for years, which is nice.
Yeah, then they realize that, like, vegetables make them healthy.
Yeah.
Although they do become a little bit plumper and a little bit more Irish, I feel
A little
like.
Irish. Towards the end, a lot of them have Irish accents. I don't know, maybe
they all
in
start
Ireland
getting
at
really
that
into
point.
whiskey and punching each other.
But I mean,
otherwise
that's
they're
what.
fine.
But I mean, they're a bunch of kids. Like, once the professor's gone, they're left to their own devices. It's like there's no adults in charge. It's going to be a little crazy. Who's gonna drive the wondrous wandering Wondonarium? You know.
Well, what's fucked up is that, like, at the last shot of the movie is when Wendy puts on his monocle and, like, it's this spark in her head, and she's like, I'll lead us. I'll make sure everyone's safe.
She has the same voice as him. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's just like, I'll make sure the kids are never in trouble and always get their way from now on, and those puggles will finally be destroyed. And it's like, well... About that last part you said it, like, and then Wallace is like, I don't know about that, but all the other kids cheer, so he joins in too.
Oh boy, this is.
But yeah, I do
circular.
I do want to talk about like the sequence where he sees the puggles, which was really fucking cool. Because he starts hallucinating and seeing these puggles like eating at his brain, and it was like super. I mean, we didn't talk a lot about the gore in this movie, but it is super graphic. Like,
I mean, everything we've described,
puggles.
you see. They never cut away. Like the dogs eating those kids, you see. The fucking you see everything.
The only time you don't see something is in the very, very beginning when that thing in the floor is eating people, but then you do see that later.
But then they show it, and then later they show it.
You think, it's a movie where they're just going to do stuff off screen, and eventually they get bored with that and just start graphically showing.
What if we just showed everything? Huh? Think about
Professor Potato has like a lot of killing methods. And, like, at one point, like all the tickling arms just rip a kid apart and like feed it to dogs.
My arms are all akimbo. Oopsies.
Yeah, he starts puppeteering the dead kid and saying, "I should have followed the rules." Wow, an important lesson for everyone.
Oh my god, I loved it. So good.
Yeah, it was pretty weird. And then he's wearing one kid's intestines as a scarf, And he's like, what do you think of my new mink stole?
It's
Don't
cold
I look
out today. Better put on a scarf.
And he like throws it over his shoulder and like
Yeah.
blood splatters on Wallace's face. And he says, now don't lick your blood before dessert. That's another no-no.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah, what were his rules? His rules were really no
He
elbows
made them
on the
up
table.
as he went. That's why they were so hard to follow. That's why he kept killing kids.
Yeah, I know. I don't think it's possible to follow them, but I'm just trying to
And
get
he
a
contradicted
list for the
himself
listeners.
a bunch of times. He said, make sure to use your fork and knife. He said, don't use your fork and knife to eat a dog. It's like, which is it?
Eat a dog like a dog. We're all dogs here. Woof, woof, woof. Make sure you respond to dogs. And then one kid's
Mad
like,
Hatter.
why? That's not what you said yesterday. And he's like, dogs can't talk. And he smashes a button and the kid's chair shoots out like an ejector seat. And the kid is shown flying into the air into the sun.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, okay, they're just gonna fizzle off. But like instead, we see them melting in the sun. The movie cuts to them melting
cuts to
and
the
dissolving.
sun. It cuts to the sun. where
Cut
they're
to the
melting.
sun. This is the first movie I think I can say that. I outside like Solaris or some shit. Like, what the fuck is happening in this movie? Like,
It took a long time to get there. So he was in space screaming. He was silent from it.
Yeah, that was the other weird thing. It's just like 6 minutes of screaming as the kid hits each level of the atmosphere and the pressure makes their ears bleed.
God,
and then into
Jesus
space
Christ.
where there's no sound. And then into the sun. And we're like, okay, that's the end of it.
And then
we
he
get like a
screams.
long shot. Yeah, and then he screams as it's melting. And we see his like eyes explode and shit. It's like, it's so unnecessary. It's so unnecessary.
And then you come back and the Professor Potato's like, learned him a lesson, didn't we?
Now, what have we learned?
The sun is the biggest planet in our solar system.
But the sun isn't a planet, and he just slams the button again.
Stupid.
Professor
What do I
is
learn?
right! Professor
know.
is always right!
I think it's just luck that Wendy and Walt, because also like whenever Wendy tried to tell like the other kids like we can just gang up on him. Anytime she said it, they would go to the professor and tell him. And they're all little narcs. Like they always like try to get Winnie in trouble.
I mean, I sort of because like they're abused, like they're in a traumatized space.
They gotta tell.
And
They gotta tell the only adult that they trust. I guess. Yeah.
And also, it's like they know anytime anyone speaks up to him or even like vaguely naysays what he's trying to do, they immediately die. So I think it's that thing of like it's something that Wendy exploits later. It's like they know that if they suck up to him, he's more receptive to it. Like that's the one rule that.
But also
they
he
can follow.
he also like respected Wendy. I think because like she was the only one who wanted to like take him out. He's like, a rival, I see.
Well,
For
yeah,
me
because
and
she
for
was
me.
like successful. Because that's true. We didn't talk about it, but she has one failed attempt before her successful attempt, which is she tries to reprogram. She finds the controls for these arms inside the thing. There's like this weird, it's like a control panel that's made of like vegetables, and it's like a cucumber joystick and like a tomato that you have to rotate, and it's like it
Made
controls the
silliest
arms.
sounds.
So she tries to restrain Professor Potato so that I remember that because she's like she's trying to get the kids to Wallace gets it's supposed to be Wallace who she thinks that the monocle is the source of his power.
Yeah.
Because every morning, that's right, she learns from sleeping at the foot of his bed that while he's asleep, he's just a potato.
Yeah.
But like if they move too much in the room, the arms will all wake up and go crazy, like with ringing alarm bells and stuff. And every morning, an arm places the monocle on his face.
Upon his face, and that's when he seems to come to life, yeah.
Right. He's like, it's like a Frosty in the snow. I mean, the lore of this is very deep and complicated. And
Also,
makes
shouldn't
no
he
sense.
have like 50 monocles for all his eyes?
Oh, right, but it's like only on his left eye, I feel like, that he
it's his
wears
biggest, most bulbous eye. Yeah.
Well, also, it seems like the other eyes on his body are merely to show, like, he doesn't
always
open
watching.
them often. Yeah, right. It's so he can see out of the back of his head, which he does at one point to watch them. But like my point I was trying to make was that so she's got this plan to restrain him with the arms. It kind of works. She's restraining him, and Wallace is supposed to take the monocle, but Waltz gets smacked by one of the flailing arms that she doesn't know how to control and falls unconscious. And so one of the other kids, she's like begging him, pleading him to take the monocle. But instead he smacks her across the face and like, and turns the controls off because he wants, the professor to favor him. Yeah. He's one of the new kids who wants, and so the professor's like, good, you did a good job. But then he immediately feeds that kid to the dogs because he's like, no hitting. Remember, hitting is wrong. And then, he doesn't kill Wendy though. He doesn't kill Wendy because he's like, he sees her as a rival.
I think it's just a fun game for him because it's like eventually he knows he's going to kill her, but it's like this is something a little different than normal, which excites him.
Yeah, I think he's like, oh, a clever child. I have a clever puzzle for you. And so he puts her in the basement along with Wallace, who he considers her like Igor. He keeps calling him Igor.
Keep your ego with you.
It's important. I ate mine and I miss him dearly. And then like a face appears in his side screaming, help me. And he's
Quiet,
he punches
Igor.
himself. Quiet, Igor. We should really write this animated series because it's going
perfect
places.
Because it's perfect.
But yeah, so they get put in some sort of like Rube Goldberg like puzzle room that they have to escape, and it like requires Wendy to like remember something she learned in Broomhilda's fucking nursery books that were all about kids getting again torn apart by various things.
Those nursery rhymes prepared them. Normally those like nursery rhymes are really like super dark, but maybe this is why they're dark.
I mean, Hans Christian Andersen was trying to prepare you for this exact situation.
What if you get kidnapped by a lunatic?
Let's Disney them up a little bit.
Homicidal potato man.
Because Wallace is so candy obsessed, he's got like a jawbreaker, and so she starts like Hawkeye style flipping these jawbreakers into the gears to try to stop it, and eventually does, to the point where they can escape. And they get back upstairs, and that's when he's impressed that they got out, but that's when she realizes there's no escape. They can't just get out because all the doors are barred, and so she pleads with him to give him a second chance and says she'll be the perfect good little girl, and that's like how they set up the third act,
which is where she becomes the chef, the head chef,
right?
Yeah.
And later cooks his head, and they eat his
entire
head
body
as a baked potato.
They eat him, and he's delicious. And why not put a little?
Well, there was that scene where they're at the table even before she puts the monocle on, where she's eating like a big piece of him, and he's like, eat me with sour cream. It's delicious. And it like winks at her, and she's like, what did you say? And all the kids look at her like she was the only one who heard it.
It's fucking crazy. She's gonna hear all the voices like of ego. She's gonna hear all. She's going crazy. She might turn into a potato. Honestly, that might be what happens.
That would be. I mean, in the sequel, which definitely exists, I can tell you, there's 25 of these movies. I bet.
From Hell 2 back to Electric Hell.
Comrade Cucumbers, Zany, Zantacular, Guy's ship with the Z.
Yeah, they're all the same.
So yeah, that's basically it, right?
That's basically it. I mean, it sort of has to be seen to be understood, but I don't even know if I understood it.
But you'll never see it.
I'm on a lot of drugs. I'm on a lot of drugs, and it seemed like a pretty normal movie to me.
Yeah, it seemed pretty normal for what we watched to me too. So yeah, I enjoyed that very much. That was a good pick on your part.
Hey,
but don't pick your scabs because you'll get sent to the dogs. Pick your nose, pick your scabs, get picked up by the dogs. The dogs will pick your bones clean. Dogs. He danced a lot. That's the one thing we don't say.
I love Professor.
He wiggled a lot.
I would limit his fucking magic. He's Wondinarium.
Yeah, because you want to be him, not because you want to be set by his rules.
I want to learn his ways.
But who doesn't have that power fantasy? Not necessarily with kids, but like of just being around a bunch of people and being like, my arbitrary rules are always right. It's like being a
do
dictator.
what you say. Yeah, it's being a dictator. It's being a dictator.
You get to arbitrarily punish anybody. I mean,
shouldn't have done that. Bad, 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 bad.
It's like, this food is really good. Good and not great? To the dogs!
To the dogs you go. To the dogs.
No, I mean, I liked it. Oh, thank you. And just no response. It's just like, what? What? I don't...
He's great. He's great.
Your ribbon is slightly askew. Dogs! Table has an irregular number of children. Dogs!
Dogs!
But you caused that. I caused something to the dogs with you.
Let's watch it again. Can we
Let's watch it again very quick. All right, we're just gonna watch this a few more times. Yeah, thank you so much.
Because I am in a K-hole, right?
Oh my god, yeah, he's getting catatonic over there.
I can't move my lips.
You're talking right now. You just don't think you are because your pupils are the size of water balloons.
You can hear my thoughts. You can hear my thoughts.
All right, I'm gonna take care of Kolar and try to drag his corpse out of here. But
Potato says I'm all fine and better.
Oh no, he just grew a monocle. Oh shit. Oh no. Wait, am I on drugs or is this happening? Okay.
I did put some drugs in your popcorn.
Oh, of course. Of course. All right. Well, thank you for subscribing. Tell your friends. And bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.